This is our top story this hour. North Korea has hinted at resuming its nuclear and long-range ballistic missile tests. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un presided over a meeting at the party's Central Committee's Political Bureau. The Politburo meeting also prepared for a long-term confrontation with the United States. In a likely reference to Pyongyang's nuclear and ICBM programs, the meeting gave an instruction to a sector concerned to promptly examine the issue of restarting all activities that had been temporarily suspended. Despite biting international sanctions, Pyongyang has conducted a string of weapons tests this year. Leader Kim Jong-un has pursued his vowed goal of further strengthening the military. Pyongyang has not responded to Washington's offers of talks. It has instead doubled down on weapons tests and even vowed a stronger and certain response to any attempts to rein in on it. KCNA reported the Politburo deciding the hostile policy and military threat by the U.S. have reached a danger line that cannot be overlooked anymore. Washington hit Pyongyang with fresh sanctions last week. North Korea responded with a series of missile tests. It asserted its legitimate right to self-defense. North Korea has also ramped up its anti-Washington rhetoric. North Korea has recently held a series of missile tests, but it has not tested intercontinental ballistic missiles or nuclear devices. The North Korean leader declared a self-imposed moratorium on nuclear and ICBM tests in 2018. But it threatened to lift it after talks with then-President Donald Trump collapsed in 2019. The potential resumption of nuclear missile tests comes at a delicate time in the region. Kim's sole major ally, China, is set to host the Winter Olympics next month, while South Korea is gearing up for a presidential election in March. WION correspondent Phoebe Amoroso is joining us live from Tokyo. Thank you very much for your time and welcome to this broadcast. Phoebe, what impact will this have on the region if North Korea launches the nuclear and long-range ballistic missiles?
Well, obviously this is a grave concern because we're seeing a big change in the rhetoric towards Washington and to the rest of the world. I mean, what we heard from the US ambassador to the United Nations just a couple of weeks back after North Korea's second launch was that the longer that these missile launches, and currently these are short-range or hypersonic missiles that it's been firing this year, but the longer that these continue, the greater is the risk of a miscalculation and that the situation would be escalating. But clearly the message that North Korea is trying to send here, this warning comes out just before another emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council. So clearly North Korea is trying to send out a message of defiance. And suddenly what we're hearing from Pyongyang is very strong words for the United States, saying that the threat that the United States poses to North Korea is reaching a danger line. They point specifically to the United States and South Korean joint military exercises, for example, the fact that the United States is deploying strategic weapons in the region, and also independent US sanctions in addition to the United Nations sanctions. So tensions really are ratcheting up higher in the region. And of course, we are seeing many new defense alliances between Japan, for example, with trying to bolster its alliance with the United States, signing a new defense agreement with Australia, and that's with China in mind. So all in all, the security situation in the Indo-Pacific region is looking very uncertain and is a cause for concern.
What is stoking this feud between the United States and North Korea at the moment?
What is the cause, sorry?
What is stoking or what is causing this feud between the United States and North Korea at the moment?
Thank you. So there was a very historic summit between former President US Trump and Kim Jong-un. And that was the first time really that the United States and North Korea got to speak about their different positions when it comes to security. For North Korea, they have accused the United States of being hypocritical, of essentially having double standards, that the United States has all this nuclear and military power, and that North Korea, as a sovereign state, has the right to also own these weapons. And the fact that the United States is calling the United Nations Security Council meeting and really appealing for greater sanctions is seen as a further attack on North Korea. So there's a fair amount of suspicion. In terms of whether we can see talks continue, really depends on how the United States plays out its diplomatic policy. Clearly, the current status with North Korea is looking to increase its defenses over the next 5 years. And so the sanctions that the United States and the United Nations Security Council are imposing do not appear to be working. And that's one thing that observers really have been pointing out, that the United States might need to take a clearer diplomatic path in order to really work towards denuclearization talks. However, given the current friction between the two sides, those do seem far off at this moment.
Live from Tokyo, Phoebe Amoroso, thank you very much for your insights and for talking to us today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.